The main muscles used in a quad press to handstand are the shoulders and the biceps. A good bicep and shoulder workout is push press with an elastic band. To perform this, start by placing your feet about shoulder width apart onto the middle of the elastic band. Then raise the handles up to your shoulders. From there, you will push the band up with both arms all the way to the top and shrug your shoulders. It is important that while doing this, you keep your core tight and that you keep neutral spine. It is important to make sure that your knees do not stay completely locked out because you may restrict blood flow. You also should not bend your knees too much on the way down. If it is difficult to keep your back from arching on the way down or on the way up, then the resistance is probably too much and you should lower it. The next skill is called the handstand forward roll. The main muscles needed for this skill are the triceps and the deltoids. A good exercise for the triceps and the deltoids is a 2-arm kettlebell snatch. To perform, start with your feet shoulder width apart, holding the kettlebell in 2 hands. Start by initiating at the hips with only a slight bend at the knees. Next, pull the kettlebell up to your chest and through over your head to extend your arms. A common mistake to be made while doing this exercise can be compensating on one side more than the other. This usually happens when using too heavy of a weight, so if this occurs, go down in weight. Another common error can be to arch your back while doing this or throwing your arms too far back. To avoid this, keep neutral spine by squeezing and controlling your core and not protracting your shoulders on the way down. The third skill is called a front walkover. The main muscles used in this skill are the glutes and the hamstrings. A beneficial exercise for these muscles are walking lunges. To do this exercise correctly, start by placing one foot in front of the other and bend both knees, lightly tapping the back knee to the ground. It is important to keep both toes pointing forward, keeping the knees aligned to the front. Avoid lunging too far forward or lunging with your knee too far in front of your foot. To avoid this, place more weight in your heels rather than your toes. You should also avoid dropping your chest too far forward. To avoid this, focus on flexing at your knees rather than your hips. One last thing to avoid is internally or externally rotating your ankles. To avoid, find a landmark in front of you and point your toes towards that landmark. This fourth skill is called the back handspring. The main muscle group needed is the quads. A common exercise for the quads is the overhead squat. Start by putting your feet about shoulder width apart and your arms above your head. Flex initially with your hips and then follow through with flexing at your knees. Be sure to keep neutral spine while doing this and that your weight is centered in each foot so that you are not too much in your toes or too much in your heels. A common error is bending at the knees first rather than the hips. To avoid this, think about isolating the hips and only bending there first rather than the knees. This last skill is called an aerial. Balance is pretty important in this skill, and one of the main muscle groups used is the hamstrings. A beneficial workout for the hamstrings is a single leg deadlift. To perform this exercise, start by picking up one dumbbell. While you lower the dumbbell to the floor, extend the opposite leg back off the ground. It is important that you keep neutral spine while doing this and that your bottom leg is not completely locked out but gives only a little. To maintain balance, find a point in front of you and focus your eyes on it so you don't fall over. It is also important that your hips do not open up to the front. If this exercise is too advanced, you can lower the weight or you can try not extending your leg as much in the back.